Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're taking a deep dive into this whole Jay-Z and Diddy situation. It's pretty wild, right? With that lawsuit and everything, and especially all this stuff with Jay-Z's attorney saying they weren't really close, you
Yeah,
know?
it's definitely gotten a lot of attention.
For sure. Social media is going crazy,
I bet.
and, everyone seems to have an opinion.
Right. Like everyone remember all those pictures of them together back in the day.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So that's what we're going to try to get into today. Like, what did the attorney actually say? And how does it even fit into this whole case? It's pretty complicated.
Yeah, no kidding.
So let's just start with, like, the basics. What did Jay-Z's attorney actually say about their relationship?
So basically, he's claiming that Jay-Z and Diddy were never close friends. Just industry colleagues,
Yeah.
like a lot of people in their line of work.
Okay, so, like, they knew each other, worked together, but weren't hanging out all the time.
Exactly.
But that's the thing, right? Everyone remembers them being seen together.
Right, and that's where it gets interesting because the attorney is trying to use this claim to kind of distance Jay-Z from the accusations against Diddy.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It's like he's saying, hey, look, they weren't buddies, so whatever Diddy may or may not have done has nothing to do with Jay-Z.
Smart. But is it working? I mean, people are calling him out online.
Yeah, the public isn't buying it so easily.
It's pretty funny, actually, some of the stuff people are saying.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Like, one person commented, "Ain't friends, they got more pics together than me and my dad."
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Right.
Another one said, "Yeah, I've been around him for 30 years, but I don't know him like that swick."
Classic.
It's like everyone has this collective memory of their relationship, and the attorney's statement just doesn't match up.
Yeah, people are using their own knowledge, their own experiences to question the narrative being presented.
And that's what's so fascinating about this whole thing, right?
Totally.
It's not just about what happens in the courtroom. It's about public perception, social media, all of it.
Public opinion can definitely play a role, even if it shouldn't legally.
For sure. So just to remind everyone, this whole thing started with a pretty serious accusation.
Right.
A woman is claiming that both Jay-Z and Diddy assaulted her when she was 13 years old at an MTV VMAs after party back in 2000.
That's the basis of the lawsuit, yeah.
And for now, Jay-Z is denying everything and wants the case dismissed.
That's his legal right.
Absolutely. And to complicate things even more, his attorney presented these slides, right?
Yeah, in a press conference.
Like he was trying to debunk parts of the accuser's story.
Right. That's a whole other layer we need to unpack.
For sure. For sure. We'll get to that. But first, let's just think about this for a minute. The attorney's saying Jay-Z and Diddy weren't close, but people aren't buying it.
Yeah.
And this whole thing stems from a very serious accusation.
It's a lot to process.
It definitely is. So stick with us, because next we're going to dive into those slides and try to make sense of what they mean for this case.
Sounds good to me. Okay, so those slides. Pretty interesting stuff, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty clear what the attorney's trying to do, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's all about discrediting the accuser, basically trying to show that she's not reliable.
So, like, what exactly did he show in those slides? What was the big reveal?
Well, he focused on a few key points, like the location of the after party, for instance.
Interesting.
Yeah, the slides showed that it actually took place somewhere different than what the accuser initially said.
Well, wait, so she got the location wrong.
Well, according to the slides, yeah. And that's a pretty big detail to get wrong.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So what else? What other inconsistencies did he highlight?
Well, the timeline of events was another big one.
Okay, like what happened when, that kind of thing.
Exactly. He presented photos, and records of public appearances that kind of contradicted the accuser's statements about the order of events.
Oh, I see. So he's trying to create this picture that her story doesn't add up.
Exactly.
Like if you can poke holes in the details, then maybe the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah, it's the strategy. Yeah.
It makes you think, though, right? Like, memory is a tricky thing, especially after so many years.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's possible that she just, remembers things a bit differently now.
It happens.
But then there's also the possibility that, well, maybe she's not being entirely truthful.
Right.
And that's the big question for the jury, isn't it?
It is. They have to figure out whether those inconsistencies are honest mistakes or something more intentional.
Yeah, and it's interesting, right? Because on one hand, you have the accuser telling her story, and then you have Jay-Z's team basically presenting a counter-narrative.
Right, like two competing versions of what happened.
Just like a legal chess match.
Exactly, and it's not just about the evidence itself, it's about how each side frames that evidence.
True, true.
And don't forget, the public is watching all of this.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Their perception, whether we like it or not, can have an influence.
Totally. It's like this case is playing out in the court of public opinion at the same time as the actual legal proceedings. So what about those slides? I mean, how's the public reacting to all of this?
Well, it's mixed, you know? It's kind of what you'd expect. Some people are totally convinced by the slides. They see them as proof that Jay-Z is innocent.
So they believe the accuser is lying.
Well, they see the inconsistencies as pretty damning.
I can see that. But I'm guessing not everyone's buying it.
Definitely not. Some people see this as a powerful person using his resources to silence someone.
You mean like he's got the money and the lawyers to spin things his way?
Exactly.
So they might see those slides as more of a PR move than actual proof.
It's definitely a perspective you have to consider.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this whole thing raises these really important questions about power, right?
Absolutely.
Like, does everyone have equal access to justice? Do some people have an advantage because of their wealth or fame?
Those are questions that come up a lot in cases like this.
It's a tricky situation.
It is.
And then there's this whole question of the burden of proof.
Yeah.
Like, who has to prove what?
That's a legal thing, and it depends on whether it's a criminal or civil case.
So in this case, what's the deal?
Well, since this is a civil case, it's on the accuser to prove her case. She has to convince the jury that her version of events is more likely true than not.
Ah, okay, so that's why Jay-Z's team is focusing so much on those inconsistencies.
Exactly. They're trying to weaken her case by making her seem less believable.
It's all part of the strategy.
It is. It's a high-stakes game. And the outcome could have major consequences.
Yeah, not just for Jay-Z and Diddy, but for the entire music industry, I'd imagine.
For sure.
This whole thing is like a microcosm of bigger societal problems, don't you think?
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's making us confront these uncomfortable truths about power, privilege, and how hard it can be to find justice.
It's true.
And it's not going away anytime soon, is it?
I don't think so.
This is a story that's going to keep unfolding, and we're going to keep following it. So we've talked a lot about Jay-Z, but what about Diddy? He's a big part of this too, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. In fact, he was actually the first one named in the lawsuit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the accuser's claims against him kind of set this whole thing in motion.
Wow, I didn't realize that. So let's get into that then. What exactly is she saying Diddy did?
Well, her allegations against Diddy are pretty similar to those against Jay-Z. She claims he also assaulted her at that same VMA's after-party back in 2000.
Right, the one where she was 13.
Exactly.
It's just crazy to think about, you know?
Yeah, it's heavy stuff.
So how's Diddy responding to all of this?
Pretty much the same way Jay-Z is, denying everything. His lawyers are also trying to get the case dismissed, calling the accusations totally false.
So we've got two powerful figures, both facing serious allegations from the same accuser, and both denying any involvement. It makes you wonder how their cases might affect each other, even though they're technically separate.
That's a good point. Legally, they are separate cases.
Yeah.
But in the public eye, they're definitely linked. It's hard to separate them.
Right, like anything that happens in one case could easily spill over into the other.
Exactly. Like imagine if some new evidence comes out that supports the accuser's claims against Diddy. That could indirectly help her case against Jay-Z, too, even if they're being tried separately.
Yeah, it's like a domino effect.
Kinda.
Yeah, it just shows you that this whole thing is bigger than just the courtroom. It's playing out in the media, on social media, everywhere.
Public perception matters, whether we like it or not.
It's true. And this whole case, it kind of shines a light on some uncomfortable truths about the music industry, doesn't it?
I think so.
Like all those whispers you hear about a culture of silence.
Yeah, where powerful people can get away with bad behavior.
Exactly. It feels like this case is challenging that.
Yeah, it's forcing people to look at the power dynamics, to question whether everyone is really protected, whether there's true accountability.
It's a big deal.
It is.
And it's making people talk about consent, about trauma, about believing survivors.
These are conversations we need to have.
Definitely. So we've covered a lot today, but this story is far from over, right?
Not even close.
So as we wrap things up, what are some key things our listeners should keep in mind as this case moves forward?
I think it's important to stay informed, but also be careful about bias and misinformation. There's a lot of that out there.
That's true.
Remember, there are real people involved in this, and we need to let the legal process play out.
This whole case, it's like a tangled web of accusations, evidence, and different versions of the truth. It shows you that Finding justice isn't always easy. It can be a long and complicated journey.
You said it.
And it's not just about Jay-Z and Diddy. It's about power, about privilege, about holding people accountable.
It makes you think about bigger issues, for sure.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
And to everyone listening, keep exploring this story, keep asking questions, and keep those critical thinking skills sharp. Until next time.